Hello and welcome to Turning Pages, a program about books and more than books. I'm your host, Margaret Porter, and I'm very sorry to say that my co-host, Paul Brogan, is not with us today, and I know he's sorry as well because this is a conversation that he would very much enjoy participating in. My guests today are Sharon Czarnecki and Marjorie Burke from the Weare Area Writers Guild, which is a bit hard to say, Weare Area. But I won't give them a hard time about that. I've known Marge for, a little over 20 years, I think.
Yep.
And I've just met Sharon today on set. So welcome, and thank you so much for coming to Turning Pages.
Thank you for having us.
I am so interested to learn about the Weare Area Writers Guild. It's something I've known about for a long time, knowing Marge and having attended her events at Gibson's Bookstore. Sharon, I know you're the founder of the group, and how many years ago did the collective come together, and how did that happen? How did it come to be?
Well, it's been almost 10 years. It was May of 2015 that we started the group. And so the way it came to be was my husband died very suddenly of a heart attack in 2010, and he was a wordsmith, and he and I both loved words. The kind of thing where you're writing something and you're stumped, and somebody leans over your shoulder and says, "Oh, try this word." Mm-hmm. Well, eventually I really, really missed that. And on a visit to my dad in Bangor, Maine, I found out that he was part of a writers group. And I said, gee, maybe that would work. And my library was very supportive, and they helped us get it started.
That's wonderful. And Marge, at what point in the 10 years did you join the group?
Right at the very beginning.
Yeah, you were a founding member.
I'm a founding member.
Oh, that's wonderful. So did you two know one another before
Not
No.
the
before.
group? So that's how you met. How did you learn about it, Marge?
From somebody else in town, the former librarian who had retired by then. She's the one that told me about it.
So the word was already out
Oh, yes.
around
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The library, like I say, was very supportive. They had a sign-up sheet there, and they talked to people about it.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful. So it's the Weare area. How do you define the Weare area, and what other towns or locations are represented within the membership?
Well, that's why we moved to the Ward area initially, is because we found that it wasn't going to be confined to Weare. We have someone from Henniker, somebody from Dunbarton, someone from Concord, someone from Manchester, and someone from Webster. Did I get them all?
Yeah, Dave comes from Webster.
Right.
So easy driving distance
Yes.
for
Yes,
the most part.
but we wanted to be open and welcoming to anybody that wanted to come.
All right. Well, Concord people, you've heard it here. The more the merrier. You are welcome. And so the group, the makeup of the group, the number of members all together, not necessarily which come to the meetings, but how many people would you say that you have?
We have about 37 on the rolls, but the meetings are 7 to 8, sometimes 11 or 12, so almost as many inactive as active, but they're always struggling to get back because they're busy with different things, so they drop out for a while, then they come back. So that, and as far as the makeup, we have people that are published authors, and we have people that just write for their family, and people that just write the occasional poem for the newspaper. So it's a complete mix of what kind of writing we do.
That's really good. So you have a mix of genres and interests. And is there also a mix of genders? Are there men and women
Yes.
members
Oh, yes.
as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And is either one more disciplined than the other, would you say, or shyer about their writing, or being more or less willing to participate?
I think the men are great about participating. We started off with one of the founding members was the only man, and he kept wishing that there were other men that came, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 active ones that come pretty regularly.
Good.
We
good.
just had a new one arrive a couple of weeks ago.
So they're just showing up,
Yeah.
hearing good things, I'm sure. Now, what you indicate there's a mix of genres. So what genres do you represent, and then what other genres do the members write?
Well, I started off writing a book about my husband's Alzheimer's. And the first meeting I went to, I wasn't sure if I was on the right track. I began by asking Donald questions about what was happening to him. Excuse me. And so the first meeting I went to, I read the first, what was going to be the first chapter in the book, and was so welcomed and accepted, and comments made that I just kept on going. So never really intending to write a book. I wrote the first one, Melting Ice, Shifting Sand. And then people decided when he had to go and live at a memory care facility, I needed a sequel.
Yes.
That was Pilgrimage on Ice and Sand. And then it morphed into a trilogy with Beyond Ice and Sand when he died, and me figuring out me. And now I'm more into poetry. I have 3 books out in poetry.
And I've heard you talk a little bit about this at Gibson's, but the writing of those memoirs or those experiences with Donald was how did that help you cope? And then how do you think those books have helped other people cope with similar challenges?
Great question. They were very therapeutic for me. The first book we did together with me asking Donald questions. And so I think that brought us even closer together. And now
at a very important time to be that close.
Right.
Yeah.
And now that seems to be my bestseller. People that come to us at shows will listen to my little spiel about the book, and then they'll tell me their story. And so I know it's helping people, and that's my goal, is to help other caregivers.
I have to say that it is one of the most uplifting books, trilogies on Alzheimer's that I have ever read, and that is so inspiring. And I tell people all the time, if you can't read any other book on Alzheimer's, read these 3. So
yes,
yeah.
It's very very frank, very realistic, and yet very inspiring in the ways that that both of you dealt with it in such a wonderful way.
But other people in the Guild write altogether different things. We have historical fiction based on Weare.
Weare?
Weare, yes, Weare. Her first book is The Pine Tree Riot, which talks about was probably one of the first acts of open rebellion against the king in 1792. And then she got all her historical facts right from the Weare history. And then her next book is short stories, and then she wrote one, Valor Under Fire, which is about the Weare militiamen that fought under General John Stark at the Battle of Bunker Hill.
Those are some important things for people to know about here in New Hampshire that might not be aware.
That's right. And then we have one woman that writes historical romance set in the Philippines. And she has good creds for the Philippines because she lived there once teaching. We have Ellen writes young adult paranormals and children's books. She has a series out about a little boy that got caught in a video game and is trying to figure out how to get out of it.
I bet a lot of parents can relate to that.
Yeah. Karen writes modern day novels with a little touch of romance in them. She's just starting a new series. She's got one series, 1, 2, 3, and now she's moved into a new one. It's all set in York Harbor, Maine. And we have a parenting book written by a woman who teaches at college level parenting skills, so it's really well done. We have a new writer this year who does humorous science fiction.
Okay.
And we have fantasy. On, I guess.
What about Sharon? What do you write?
Well, you know, that's the funny thing, isn't it? I write humorous, lengthy letters for my widowed aunts. So I don't really write for publication. Every now and then I write something that goes in the newspaper, the local paper. But generally speaking, I just write for, and we do have several people in the Guild that are writing memoirs, which is really nice. So for their, one gentleman is writing a history of his time in Afghanistan, so for his family. So really interesting things.
So but you haven't been inspired yet to branch out into something besides the humorous letters?
Well, she does a lot of other writing. Just before COVID, our librarian unexpectedly died. and he had started an online newsletter called Weare in the World. Yeah, we use the name
use it
Weare.
a lot. We take advantage of
It's
it.
what-
And several of us in the guild said, well, Michael was a member of the guild too. We said, well, why don't we take it over? So 3 of us from the Writers Guild, plus a couple of other people in town that were interested in seeing the paper continue, have joined us. So twice a month we publish online Weare in the World.
How wonderful.
And she does a lot of writing for that.
And it's between 15 and 17 pages color. There is no way in
Wow.
the world we could print it anymore.
Oh, wow.
So the only way you can get it is through your email.
So
like-
you have no lack of contributions, obviously. If
True,
it's that
true,
many
we have-
pages, that's
True.
amazing. That's
That's true.
wonderful.
So
So tell me, Sharon, the details of when and where the group gets together.
We get together the first and third Friday of every month at 11 to 1 roughly, at the Senior Center in Weare, which is 33 North Stark Highway. And it's open and to the public. We've got coffee there. We've got, yeah, it's completely handicapped accessible, so that's really a nice place to meet. So that's where we meet.
And what during the pandemic, did you have to move to online meetings, or how did you
Yes,
you
yeah.
manage that? And
We
how
had to
did
do
that
Zoom.
change the dynamics or the function of the group? Did it feel different, or did it feel very
Oh,
much
yeah.
the same?
it felt very different.
Yeah.
You don't
But
get
it was
that.
a lifesaver.
It was, but you don't get that camaraderie that you get when it's like, oh, how are you doing? How's your daughter? When you just don't get that on Zoom, and so that was missing. We missed that, but we're really glad we can get back together in person now.
And how many people did you say usually attend?
Usually 8. 8's the average.
Yeah.
And does everybody come with something prepared to read or to present, or do people come or say maybe, well, I'll have something next time. I'm just here to be supportive and to listen
Both.
and to offer feedback.
Both.
Well, we
And-
usually more readers than listeners.
Right. And when somebody is going to read what they brought, they tell us what they're looking for in terms of critique. We don't critique grammar and punctuation. They do that on their own.
They want the more substantive.
Right,
how does
is the
this
plot
sound?
holding together?
What does it make you feel? Am I
Right.
getting what I'm trying to do?
Is there
Yeah.
too much detail or not enough detail? Or, that kind of back and forth.
So describe a typical meeting. So everybody gets together and then they chat and catch up, I'm guessing.
Yes.
How are things?
The
And-
first 15 minutes is chit-chat and catch up. And then the rest of the time is
You plunge right in.
we plunge right in.
So you have coffee, but you don't do food or
No,
wine or
only at Christmas.
That's kind of on purpose because
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody to feel like, oh shoot,
It's
I
my
forgot there's
turn.
writers, and I've got to go buy some cupcakes or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, that reminds me of the readers groups that get together and they have the assigned book to read, and it's all about reading and discussing the book, and they come to the meeting. This isn't all readers groups, but book groups will get together to ostensibly talk about the book, and then they end up catching up on their real lives. They talk about the food that somebody brought. They drink the wine, and then someone
Right.
says, "Oh, are we going to talk about the book?" And then half the
Right.
people say, "Oh, I didn't get around to reading the book." So
I bought a wine bag at Wine on Main that says, my book club reads wine labels.
I think that may be true for some, if
Right.
not many.
But 11 o'clock in the morning is really not time for
Well,
us to
that's
have.
true. That's true. Yeah. So do either both of you belong to other writing organizations here in the state?
Yes, I do. I belong to the New Hampshire Writers Project.
Right. So do
What
I.
you
Yep,
do.
Yep.
And I belong to the Poetry Society of New Hampshire.
Oh, sure. Yes, I went to your reading at Gibson's.
Yes,
a
you
couple of months
did.
ago. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know that we have at least one other member of our guild that belongs to the Writers Project. In fact, she and somebody else just went to that writing day at the Fells.
Yes, they had a retreat, a writing
Yes,
day
did you go to that?
No, I was not able to go to that, but
Oh.
I suspect it was very successful. Great
It was.
location. Yeah.
Well, Ellen told us about, she didn't have anything to bring to our meeting on her current book, but she brought what she had written for the writer's prompt at that workshop. And the
Oh.
question was, why didn't you tell me that? And so she wrote about rutabagas in 6 minutes nonstop. It was the funniest thing you can imagine.
That sounds like something that would happen in my household. So you don't. So people don't actually come to do any writing. It's strictly about presenting what they have written.
Right.
And they don't send it out in advance to everyone.
No.
It's just
No.
it's just presented on the spot. And so Sharon, how is this group different from other organizations? Can you think of other ways that we
Yeah, that's
haven't
one of the things
explored?
that interests me. When I go to the fairs where we sell our books and people come up to me and talk about joining a writers group, I find that a lot of other groups have what you'd call a leader, somebody who has planned the day, and this is what we're going to do. And a lot of groups don't read their own writing. They just give out a writer's prompt, which is written, and then they bring it back the next time, which I think is kind of fun. But we just never did that. We never got around to it. It was just right away, everyone who came was working on something that they were writing. And so we became immediately about encouraging each other. So what are you writing? Share it. You know, what do you need here? So I think that makes it very different. And I think that nobody, and also, you know, then we're not worried about punctuation or spelling. Or, we're not going to stand here and say,
Everybody's a grown-up. They can
really,
they have
you
a
know?
dictionary. They can go online. They can
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So I think people don't have to be afraid of being criticized, which is really, really very nice. And again, we were so fortunate with our core group of members because one of them started off really early by saying to the rest of us, be careful not to express what you would do when you're telling someone. Instead, ask questions about something you don't understand. So that has been a major direction for the group, and it's just been wonderful.
We interviewed last month the founders of the New Hampshire Book Festival, and I'm wondering if either one of you were able to attend and what you thought about the event, our first annual New Hampshire Book Festival.
It was fabulous,
It
Margaret.
was fabulous.
It was just chock full of wonderful conversations about books all day long. I brought my editor with me, and we started at 9 o'clock with Paul Muldoon, poet, and we ended with the last section of the day, whoever that was. It wasn't yours.
I think there was a session after mine, and I can't remember what it was.
I think it was Mistress.
Oh, it was. Was it the historical fiction one? I
Could
went
be.
to that in the afternoon.
But it was all fabulous. It was so well planned. I mean, can't imagine anything went wrong. I'm sure there were little hitches back, behind the scenes, but to the public it was great. The day was wonderful.
The weather was
perfect.
exquisite. It could not have been better for the event.
Right, and I know one member of our guild did come and just walked around and talked to people about writing and producing, publishing, and book covers and stuff like that. So
The sales tent, the Gibson's bookstore sales tent was so extensive, and they had not only the presenting authors or the people who were on panels, but they had the moderators had their books there as well, and they had assigned times so that after everyone did a panel, then you would go to the signing tent and sit down, and then people would come and you could chat with the readers and sign books. And then there was also plenty of time to wander around from booth to booth. Writing organizations were there. And
I loved it that they had a tent outside for the kids.
yes.
And they were all of the sessions had a moderator and a panel on kids' books, which was great.
A separate track for
Yeah.
the kids was really that was a genius idea, because that, you know, parents and kids could participate in that, and there was an activities table. I think people were maybe drawing and cartoon, you know, to keep people busy, to keep younger ones busy.
The logo for the festival was on chalk on the street. On Main
Yes.
Street. And I
It was
noticed there were
beautiful.
kids there adding
Yes.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just really a wonderful day, and already I'm already looking forward to next
I
year.
can't wait for next
I
year.
know. Do we have to wait almost a whole year? It was really wonderful. So back to the Weare Area Writers Guild. Are there any plans? What do you see the future of the group being? Staying established as it is and the same, or do you have visions of grandeur of what it could become, other than perhaps attracting other writers?
Well,
and
for
other
me,
people?
I hope it just keeps going the way it is, because it's helpful to me. But as new people come and join us, with new genres, I'm learning more about, like, humorous science fiction is not my most favorite. And as we get more published authors, we'll have to rethink how we do our fairs. We may have to grow into a bigger space. We can all fit under one tent now.
Well, let's talk about that, because you do go to events. I think you said you were in Goffstown most
Yes.
recently. What are the mechanisms of that? How do you get in touch with the organizers, or how do you discover what events there are going to be that you can participate in?
Ellen, in our group, Ellen Reed, she's the one that organizes all these. She has some kind of a Facebook page or something that lists all kinds of fairs coming up. And so then she'll throw an idea out. What do you think about this? Oh, should we consider doing this? So we're apt to try a fair for a one time to see how it goes. Is it worth our while? We have our favorites that we go back to year after year, and we actually have people come looking for us. Any new books this year?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, we did the Henniker Handmade Homegrown in September, and we do it again usually around Mother's Day, and that's always good for us. We do Dunbarton Old Home Day, and in 2 weeks we'll be doing the Lions Club Fair in Goffstown.
What is the date of that?
It's the first weekend in November, and then the middle of the month we're doing Bow,
My
high
goodness.
school.
I don't know how anyone has time to write.
And then
On the weekends, anyway.
no, that's Bedford in the middle of the month. The end of the month we do a 2-day show in Bedford put on by the PTO, and that's
That's in
always
Bow.
good for us. That's just, you know, leading up to Christmas. And then we do we'll be doing Beaver Meadow School in Concord the first weekend in
great.
December.
Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah.
that's perfect. Good
Yep.
timing for pre-Christmas shopping.
And then we have some that we've decided aren't worth our effort. Sales were not good. And many of the shows we do are juried. We have to go send our books before a jury.
To be chosen and
Yeah.
make sure it fits with the
Right.
way they want things to be at their particular event. Sharon, when you founded this organization, this group, this collective, did you imagine that it would come to this
I
point
did
and be
not.
like this?
I
What
did
was
not.
your vision at the time?
Oh my gosh,
It was
I just wanted
just
to be
someone
around
to be
people
with-
who loved words.
Yeah.
And now I have a bookshelf at home that has 35 books on it that are created by these 9 people that are published in our group.
Say that again.
I'm just 35 books
35
from
books.
9 authors
That's
that we've done over the past 9 years.
That's such a testament to the vigor of the group, the talent
Yeah.
of the group, obviously, and the support that they obviously feel
The positive nature, I
from,
think.
Yes.
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
everyone.
And when she started the group, there were no published authors. It's all come about in the almost 10 years.
Yeah.
That in itself is an amazing metric.
It is.
Thank you.
That's really,
Yeah.
really wonderful.
Thanks.
Now, do you have favorite bookstores or bookstores that you can count on to carry your books? Or what's the nature of the outreach to bookstores to get local authors on the shelves?
I support independent bookstores, and that's where you can find my books. I'm not on Amazon, but all the other authors are. And I don't know how many of them, how many of our other authors are in bookstores. Karen's are.
I know Ellen and Connie certainly started there.
Yeah.
And I know they also had the books in Warner as well.
Yeah.
And we have another bookstore we're supporting in Manchester.
Oh yeah, the craft market in Manchester at the mall.
Oh,
We have a space there.
okay.
And we have had other spaces in stores in the past that have either gone out of business or it wasn't worth our while.
Do you go on the road as far as, say, the seacoast or the lakes region, or are you generally in more the central New Hampshire area?
We actually went to the Castle in the Clouds last June.
Wow.
And it poured rain all day.
Well, maybe people, was that an indoor event or an
No,
outdoor?
it was outdoors. And books don't like to get wet, you know.
No, that's not such a good thing.
But we decided it has potential on a good day. And we think we'll do it again next year and hope for a better day. It's a whole different clientele of people in the Lake Winnipesaukee area.
Sure,
So,
definitely.
I mean, we all sold something, but it wasn't a knockout day.
There is a logistics problem too, of course, because you have all these books and the setup, and that takes time, and you've got the, the tent and everything. So, and especially if you're doing a 2-day fair, you have to consider, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to
Do you
leave our books
overnight
alone
or-
at
yes.
night and go home? Or are we going to load them all back into the cars? So it does get complicated if you're too far from home. So
let's shift a little bit from writing into reading, and I'm curious, both as a reader and a writer myself, what books you like to read and whether being involved in this group has changed your reading habits or your appreciation of different types of books. Sharon, I'll start with you.
oh my goodness, absolutely, because all of these people in this group, they are readers as well. And almost every time we get together, someone will say, oh, I just read this great book, and here's the name of the book and the author. But I have to tell you, I'm also part of a reading group, and a young girl came to the reading group. She was probably 25 or something one time. And she said, I have a question for all of you. How many books do you read a month? And then, so how many is that a year? And so, did you know the average life expectancy is? And we were like, are you kidding me? So I've got, 2,800,000 books I want to read, and enough time to read how many.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's like a good kind of virus that spreads. And Marge, quickly, what
I have a stack about this high. I went books waiting. I added to the stack at the festival because I bought some of the presenters' books. I just like everything.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I
Yeah.
like fiction, nonfiction,
Yes.
and I like to read things that I don't write as well.
Right.
I think that's really
And
good.
I love all your books.
Oh, well, thank you. That's
Is
very
there a sequel
kind.
coming out to A Change of Place?
Change of location,
Yeah.
yes, that'll be sometime in the spring. I don't have
Oh,
the
good.
date quite yet. So just to remind people, your meeting times, in case they want to join you, are?
the first and third Friday from 11 to 1. And we are at the Weare Senior Center, which is 33 North Stark Highway in Weare.
That's Route 114.
And all are welcome.
All
Yes,
are welcome.
all are welcome.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad to have had both of you here today. Marge, it's great to see you again.
Thank
As
you.
always, I'm sure we'll run into one another soon,
Oh,
again,
yes.
someplace else. And Sharon, has been delightful to
Thank
meet
you.
you. And congratulations on the wonderful success
Thank
of,
you.
of the Weare Area Writers Guild.
We shorten it to WAWG, WAG.
And thanks to everyone for watching, and we'll see you next month when Paul Brogan will be back with me. Happy reading and writing.
Thank you, Margaret. That was so wonderful.